Welcome to Breaking Through the Contradictions. The goal here is to review some of the common contradictions we have lived and have had various conversations about and how it impacts various areas of a child's growth. We invited different parents, business owners, and friends to have a candid conversation on how some of the contradictions we live contribute and or creates larger barriers to supporting our youth. The views and opinions expressed by the guests, speakers, and participants in this context are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the organizers, hosts, or any affiliated individuals or organizations. We encourage open dialogue and diverse perspectives, but the individual viewpoints shared during this discussion are personal and should not be attributed to any collective entity involved.
I love that intro. Every time it rolls, I'm like, yes.
Because I hear it this time and I'm like, it's like, look, don't be charging people what my foolishness.
I love it. I love it.
I'm not afraid to talk about it. You ain't afraid to do it. I ain't afraid to talk about it.
It's a good thing. That's a good thing. I love it.
How you doing today, Kristen?
I'm good. How are you, Tabitha?
I don't know. I think my morning started off a little funky, but I think it's going to be okay.
That's
good. Make it work because it's cold.
I was going to say, it's freezing here. I mean, I was on a beach a week and a half ago, and it was 31 last night.
Girl, you go out there with the beach now, they'll call you and tell you with the polar bear group. So
right.
This is terrible. That snap came through and everything went sideways. Mm-hmm. Like everybody is like, what in the world? Look, I even have a jacket on. I got tired of messing around with the blanket. I was like, skip that. I'm just going to put on a jacket. At least I know I can control my warmth at this point.
Yeah.
So it's all good. So I loved your post today, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, it was one of those that I read that article, about social awareness, and it was all these different sayings that I'm like, oh, I say that. Oh, I say that too. It was like, whoa. And I'm supposed to be good at these things. And all of these things on the list are things I've said at least once. I can own that. Some of them I say a lot, and I can own that too. However, it's one of those, I feel like, we brush things off and we dismiss things so easily, and words hurt, when it's said to you and it's so dismissively said of, oh, just get over it, whatever it might be, that hurts. It's like, okay, well, you don't care about what I'm dealing with. Obviously you don't want to talk to me about it. So that was something eye-opening to me.
I get it. And I agree. Because there have been many times, I think that not realizing how much it hurts is a problem, right? And but when you figure out that it has hurt, then that's when you have the opportunity to change how you behave thereafter. And that's really, really important, because I wrote As Quiet as It's Kept, I did write a book, an anthology, right? And inside mine, I was like, my part was, the worst lie ever told to children is sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Yeah. That is by far the biggest lie besides Santa that that you ever tell a child, because what you're saying, that you're negating the feelings that they're receiving from that person. That person put energy behind what they're saying, and then it's landing on you. So what I equate it to is, I don't know about you, but have you ever dropped like a spoonful of grits or cream of wheat on your skin? Even though you get all of that off and the grains are still sticking, it still continues to burn.
Yeah.
So that's what words do. And that's why, I mean, it's really, really important for people to understand that you have to be able to choose how you communicate to others. And apparently there must be a communication thing going on, because someone else I noticed had a post up about communication too. And I'm like, what are we doing? So that's is something to be said about this, because today I ran across like 3 different ones, and it was like, what's going on? People are just
it's very interesting, and it's one of those, I have to question is it that time of year for people? Like, this is a tough time of year. We're getting into the holiday season. Everybody's busy. People that are in schools, they're exhausted. This is the end of the first quarter. I know all my teacher friends right now are running on fumes.
Mhm.
And I worry about that component for sure. But I don't know. I just totally lost my train of thought of where I was going with that.
You're hilarious, but I'm saying that a lot of people are having problems and
Yes.
challenges, right? And so it's really important to note that. So when parents walk up to a teacher and say, "You are trash," that lands differently, right? Because
Yes.
you have no idea why that teacher is having some of the challenges that you do not see. And we have to be mindful of that because everybody has feelings. How about that?
Absolutely. And there was a lesson I used to teach when I taught students in middle school, particularly about bullying and name calling. And the idea was, they all got a clean sheet of paper. And anytime, they received an insult, they had to crinkle up their paper. And the point was, when you're done, you can't uncrinkle that paper. That's still there. It's always going to be there. Even though you tried to wipe it away, there it is.
Yeah.
And that's powerful for kids to see it that way.
I get that too. I think I'm off on my. I think my video's lagging for whatever reason, but I don't know why. So I'm just trying to shut down some windows over here. But I can tell you that I love that. I love that you were able to do that because here's what I tell people. At the end of the day, I give everybody a fresh chalkboard.
Yes.
And what you write on that chalkboard during the time our relationship is intact, it stays on that chalkboard. Even when you use an eraser, the chalk leaves indentations and
Yep.
extra chalk. So even though you may say, "I'm sorry," or "I didn't mean it," or anything like that, those things stick and stay. And so you are responsible for what you put on that chalkboard. And if it's trash, guess what's going to happen? You're going to have trash
100%.
output.
Yep.
And that is why we're having this conversation today about
I
comparing
love it.
your life to others and then comparing your situation to others. So let me explain. Because sometimes I don't even think that people realize that's what they're doing, right?
Right. For sure. I definitely think it took me a lot of time, even as an educator, going through a lot of specific training for trauma informed therapy, to really take that step back and say, you have to approach everybody empathetically. You have to approach everybody as you don't know what they've got going on, because you don't know.
Yeah. So like this. So that's why I brought up your post being first, right? One of the things, like, people are depressed. Get over it.
Yeah.
You know what? Get up, get to it, right? Your life is not as bad as you could be in Israel right now.
Right.
Or you can be hold up.
It's still not good. Yeah.
What happened to don't compare yourself? Don't compare yourself to others. Why are you comparing my experience to what's happening in other places, which is ultimately comparing me to someone else? But
Yeah.
I can't do it, but you can draw a comparison. So I would love to be able to hear from anybody who is who's listening or whatever, and who has that same feeling. What are your thoughts around that? Because here's the thing, let's bring it all the way back to the kiddos. When you look at it, if you tell a child, don't compare yourself to Johnny, don't compare yourself to Mary, you have no clue what their history is. You don't know what their life is.
Right.
So don't compare yourself, because your journey is your own journey and your learning is your own learning, and everybody has to learn at their own pace, right? But then when they were like, "This is my feelings," then you say, "Well, guess what? Your life is not so bad, because Johnny over there, I know, went to jail yesterday." You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
What? You can't have it both ways. We really
Right.
have to be mindful of that.
And it also is, oh, you could, it could be worse. You could have this, or it's the other way around of, oh, okay, well, if you had that, then, you wouldn't end up caring, you would end up taking advantage, and you'd become one of those people that doesn't care, that pushback.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And I get that. So how does that show up in your classroom? Because I think that that's the thing. We always, so in business, like as we're building our businesses, we say, okay, I can't. So side by side, we may all be going along this journey, but some people may get a contract faster than others, or some people may be able to be in the black faster than others. And so if you do a side by side comparison, if I'm doing everything you're doing, I should be potentially getting what you're getting, right? But that's not true.
Right. Well, and I think in a classroom setting, one of the things that happens there is, kids look around and it's like, oh, that's not fair. So and so gets extra time on this, or, whatever it might be. And teaching that fair is not equal, that's not the way that works. But also, giving kids the opportunity to learn how to express themselves, being socially aware, but also being self-aware. I think that's a huge component that a lot of times kids that aren't socially aware aren't self-aware either. Once you have self-awareness, then you can start to be like, okay, now how do I fit into everybody else socially here? And that allows you more, understanding. But kids are, they're kids. A lot of them aren't at that level yet. Those that have high EQs and are able to jump in and just, be empathetic right from the start are few and far between these days. There's quite a few kids out there that are wonderful. I'm not trying to slam kids at all, but it's just not the natural norm these days. It's more, what am I going to get out of it? Or what do I get for doing it?
This is true. But this is not an opportunity for us to slam any group of people. So the whole entire purpose for this is to bring awareness to how we're using our words and how it's landing on everybody else. When you look at it from my standpoint, it is my responsibility to effectively communicate my position and my understanding for you. Now, what I do is when I'm talking to other people, because I know myself, and like I said, my favorite animal on the planet is a tiger, but and I am like a tiger, right? I purr as long as we don't have rough, right?
Right.
But I roar when I gotta get with you. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I know who I am. I've been consistent since birth. I'm good, right? But one of the things I have to say is that even with all of that being said, you still don't want to draw those correlations. You don't want to cause that type of harm. But I normally proceed things with, look, if I've hurt your feelings in the conversation, you have to raise your hand and do flag on a play. Yes. Please tell me, because most of the time I don't get it. I don't hear it. And I like what
if I don't know, then I don't know that I've offended you, and I can't fix it.
I cannot fix what I do not know.
Mm-hmm.
So I bring this one up because she's very, very, very true, right? I think this digs people in a deeper hole when they say there are other people worse off than you. Amen. This is why so many people are willing to take their own lives, because that makes people feel like their problems aren't relevant.
Absolutely.
That is Kathy.
Yeah, you nailed that, Kathy. Absolutely. It undermines other people and makes them feel belittled and not important.
It's extremely dismissive, passive aggressive, microaggressions, and all of those things that are listed. Hi, Dr. Trong. But my thing is that you have to be mindful of that. So I posted a link for your post because it was like, okay, so don't say these things to depressed people or anxiety people and things like that. Right? Because what you're doing, and I've had it done to me, what you're doing is you're ultimately saying to people that your feelings and your thoughts and what you have going on don't count. Now, this is just me and what I'm saying. But what I say is, again, it is my responsibility that if I see your face contort because of something I say, it's my responsibility to solve that and resolve that immediately, and not allow that to fester into a different type of story that was never intended for the person that's receiving that message.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that happens, having anxiety and depression myself and dealing with things over the years, a lot of times, even on good, during good days and good spells, when I have, my anxiety gets in the way when I have to get up and go do things outside of the house and there's multiple things to get done. It's not so much of, oh, I feel lazy and I don't want to go do it, but I get so overwhelmed by, oh my gosh, there's so much to do. And it's almost that like frozen in headlights. I don't know where to start. So I get so proud of myself when I get like 3 errands accomplished on a Saturday. And people who don't have anxiety are like, yeah, I did that before 9. Like, what's your big deal? But it's, you don't understand if you're not walking in those shoes, and judging people, and saying, well, you don't, it's anxiety is no big deal. Everybody has it. No, if you're thinking that way, then you have not experienced anxiety at a diagnosable level, in my opinion.
Like it's because it can be catastrophic. Because
Absolutely.
These ones you're just like, I can't. It's debilitating, right? You cannot get out of bed.
Oh
You
my
cannot
God.
go to the store. You'd rather starve than to go outside.
There are specific dates that I can remember that I had such severe anxiety attack or panic attacks that I thought I was physically dying. Like, I didn't think it was anxiety. That never crossed my mind. I thought I was having a heart attack both times, because it just totally emulates all of the same symptoms in so many ways. And people don't get that. Like, that's not normal anxiety. Yeah, you can be anxious about something, but not to the point that you feel like, like you said, you can't get out of bed, you can't face anything. Sometimes
I'd
it's
rather
easier
go
to
back
just
inside.
curtain up. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Dr. Trong, she says, yes, our words matter. Got to be mindful of how our thoughts, words, and actions affect others, right?
100%.
And I like this. And because it reminds me of the cognitive behavioral triangle, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I hate that triangle, by the way. But what I'm saying, because here's the thing. What corner do you start on first? Secondly, is that for all of the experiences, right? Because what I think, so if I think it, then I feel it. And then, so it's not that, because I think it and I don't think, what story can I tell myself about what I'm thinking? I'm clearly not doing that, like on a conscious level. On a subconscious level, maybe, but on a conscious level. So what you're trying to tell me is that when somebody says that, when Kristen says, Tabitha, you're ugly. Kristen won't say that to me, but anyway, Tabitha, you're ugly, right? And then I can say, well, is she saying that my face is ugly, or is she saying my behaviors are ugly? So I'm not having that conversation with myself. The first thing I take is everything about me is wrong, right? So instead of me saying, so I would take that and be like, okay, so she said that, and I said, oh my gosh. And then I said, no, she might be having a bad day. So I turn that into something else so that I can wrangle my own feelings about that comment.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it literally is that I just didn't appreciate that comment coming from you. And I have the responsibility to say that hurt my feelings because I don't understand what you mean. Is that my behavior or is that my appearance? And that's the difference. But we do have to be that triangle gets me every time. I'm like, you know what? Who made up this crap? But it's like trying to tell a kid, you got to wrangle all of these things. Your feelings don't count. Your feelings don't count, right?
And we're trying to teach kids how to express their feelings and advocate for themselves, but then we beat them down when they do speak up.
Or we draw that comparison, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I fell and hurt my knee. And by the way, I did that last week. I fell and hurt my knee, and it's bleeding. I'm like, well, why can't you just shake it off?
Right.
That one over there did what? But my knee is feeling different, and maybe they hit a curb. I don't know, but why are we drawing those correlations or those comparisons to other things? Now, as I said that out loud, I think I just realized something. Something I have been doing was drawing correlations to my experience to other people's experience. And I want to say out loud, I never, ever, ever intended on my correlations to be dismissive to anybody's experience. I draw the correlation to let you know that if you look to the left and you look to the right, we are in the same boat, in the same storm, but we're just having a slightly different experience.
Yeah. Everybody's walking in their own shoes through all of what we're going through and feeling it in different ways. But you're absolutely right. That is a huge component of, I don't ever want somebody to think it's like, oh, I'm trying to one up them or,
Yes.
make them feel like, oh, well, you think that's bad. Listen to this. No, it's, hey, we're all going through stuff and
Yeah.
you're not alone. This is, this is going on in my friend's life, and this is going on in my mom's life, and this is going, everybody's got things happening.
This is true. Look, you and Kathy on the same wavelength, because you said that, and Kathy said people experience pain at different levels.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
you said it right on time. So
Yeah.
the thing came through and you said it, and I was like, wait, what?
I love it.
But it's true, because here's the
So
thing. One person's pain, they have a higher tolerance of pain. I know one of my kids do.
Yep.
They told me it is so bad. His response to pain is so non-existent that we have to teach him, when this and this happens, this is for everyone else, this is a different pain. You need to let us know. He's broken his hand.
Wow.
No pain.
No response.
No response. There's other things that have happened, and you can always tell when it gets so far, like the pain is so bad, and it just stops moving. And that's when you know things are bad. But she's right. Everybody has it. Everybody has it at different levels. And you can't equate that. You can't say, oh, well, my pain is bigger than your pain. First of all, why are we doing that?
Exactly. Exactly. Let's just say, hey, we both have pain. Let's help each other through it. It's not
what has worked for you.
Yeah.
Right. What has worked for you? Oh, that didn't work for me. We'll try this, because this can actually help you along the way. Yes. So those are those things that I think are extremely important for those children to see, that first of all, that they're not alone. They're not the only ones being bullied on the playground. They're not the only ones that that little kids walking past and popping them upside the head. They're not the only one that the teacher has singled out. And I'm going to say teachers do single out kids. We know that to be true. There's bias in the classroom, right? But the thing is what we do next with it is probably the most important part of it all. Because if we compare without explanation, to draw a correlation, but not a comparison, because there is definitely a difference. If I can draw a correlation to your circumstances, I can show you that there's another way out. If I'm drawing a comparison to what you are, I'm saying that yours is less than mine, or mine's is greater than yours.
Exactly. Yep. And I've written about that before in terms of the invisible backpacks we all are walking through halls with. You walk into a school building and you've got kids that are all dealing with different issues, but then at the same time, so are all the adults in that building too. And we forget that, yes, we think about the kids, but let's think about the adult that, is having problems with his teenage daughter at home, or, the teacher whose husband just left her, or the, woman who was just diagnosed with cancer, who has to come in and put on a smiling face. We all have stuff. And it's just, people forget that a lot of the time.
I like the invisible backpack analogy though, because I think that a lot of people, I've heard as I was growing up, that's the cross you have to bear, right? That's a cross you have to carry.
Yeah.
But we don't know what that, and first of all, I don't know about no cross, but what I know is that whatever you're carrying, so I may have a book that's hollowed out, but you may have a book that is brand spanking new, fresh off the print. Right. Those are gonna have different weights to them. And so depending on what I carry is depending on what I have, what people will see. And I think that that's extremely important, because we can't assume that we understand somebody's experience or their background. We have to assume that we know nothing about them, and that whatever's happening for them and with them will surface eventually. But we want to do it with grace and kindness, and say it's okay. Oh, for example, Dr. Constance, I know she might not be here, but she might listen to this later, right? CJ put that post out, and at first I didn't have time to watch it at first, but then I watched it, and I was like, I must have been having a really not so great day. And I'm like, And I was just like, oh my gosh, what's happening? It's like, you got me, girl, you got me. But in the video, what I liked was the fact that, and I actually commented, if you pay attention to the children, they naturally have that nurturing vibe to support others.
Yes.
They don't ask about your background. They don't
No.
ask about your title. They don't ask about your money. They ask about nothing. This is what they say. They say, I'm getting ready to eat a hamburger with some fries and a drink. And that person over there looks like they haven't bathed in weeks. They look very hungry and they're asking people for something, whatever that may be. So that child, when she picked up that meal and went and put it on the table and then didn't hesitate not one moment to help the lady to the table and says, this is your meal. The dad's trying to grab her. Wait, what are you doing? Right?
Oh, wow.
See, you got to watch the video, because what I found that very interesting, and the reason why I bring this up is because when adults enter into the situation, that's when everything gets sticky and wrong, right? So we sit there and we tell our children to lead with kindness, be nice, be respectful, put yourself in someone else's shoes. But the minute that they say, hey, I'm going to give you my meal, I'm going to give you my drink. Wait, you can't do that. No. So what you're doing is that's a contradiction that shows up that says that, it's okay for them to be that way. And yes, we see them, but if we ignore them, they'll go away, type of a thing.
Exactly.
And that's not okay. And that's what all of this is coming to, right? So my situation is better than their situation. So I'm going to help them where I can. And those children are helping people. And each time an adult try to move them away. And I was like, that hurt my feelings, but I also understand that adults are afraid.
Right.
But no need to be afraid. No need to be afraid. The one guy, he could barely feed himself because he had some type of nervous system problem. And the girl sat there and watched him. And then at some point, I'm telling you, Kristen, when you watch it, you're gonna be like, "What the world?"
I bet. I'm like already like, I'm gonna have to look this up.
But she was like, she was watching them, and she kept watching them. She watched them for a little bit of time, and then she went to move that direction. Her mother grabbed hold of her arm and held on, right? And she says no, and she pulled away, and she went over, and she fed the man, and he took it, right? But then she rolled up her arms and then helped him drink and everything. So, the correlation in life can help you find a way out of it. Right. Comparison in life will keep you stuck where you are. But I just encourage parents and families and administrators to be mindful of whether or not you're comparing or correlating, because them too, as close as we would like them to be, they can be damaging if you're using the wrong one during the wrong time.
Well, and I can't get over when it's done publicly in front of children. When a teacher will say things about a group of students or about, specifically a group of, in particular, I was in a situation, and Tabitha, I can't make this up, but I'm just going to share. I was on bus duty, and there was a couple other teachers that were in there that were supposedly helping, but they were just off kind of talking. And one of them was an African-American woman. And all of a sudden I heard her screaming, and I turned around just in time to hear her scream at a group of young middle school Black girls, "You are an embarrassment to our race." And I literally was like, I don't even know how to combat this right now. And she was like, "That you're the reason you give us a bad name." And it was like, okay, you think that's going to fix it? You're just adding fuel to that fire there. Yes, they were acting inappropriate, but it had nothing to do with race. They were being normal kids being inappropriate.
Right. Inappropriate. What's inappropriate is how the adults handle these children. So that is when, so then you get the tiger in the mix, because that ish is for the birds, right? Don't do that. So no, I think that your parent. So I walked up on a little boy who was like, "F this, F that," blah, 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 blah. And I had the principal and a bunch of teachers around me and everything. And I turn and I say, if I told your parents what you were saying right now, do you think that they'll be okay with what you're doing? And he looked at me and I said, because I think I'm pretty sure we can get a hold of them. And I
Right.
said, so do you want to make a different choice at this point? And he was like, oh, okay. And
Right.
it settled down. Nobody said anything because if you parent one, you parent them all. That's kind of how we look at it. But
Absolutely.
it was very important because I didn't say, you're a disgrace, you're horrible, you're this, you're
Absolutely.
that. What I said was, who is the most important person in that child's life? The parents. It's normally the mom or the dad, whichever
Mhm.
one, but the parents in some way. Not parent number one. But what I'm saying is that, but I just brought him back to understand if I told your mom, would she still be okay with what you're saying? Because
Right.
if she is, then I have to switch to another place, right?
Right. Because
So if
that
she's
is going to
okay
be
with it,
the answer sometimes.
yeah.
Sometimes it's, I learned it from my mom, you know?
I learned it from like Kevin Hart. What would Kevin Hart say when his mom says, "You tell that lady," and then he went in there and he's just like ad libbed all his other mess, and that's how you get in trouble. But the thing is that I think that adults, you are old enough to understand that it's unacceptable for them to behave that way, but you are also old enough to control your behavior and not add insult to injury, because that's exactly what that was.
100%. When I was a behavior specialist for 4 years, I literally felt like I coached kids on how to keep their mouth shut when teachers went off on them. Because 9 times out of 10, if there was a problem between a parent or between an adult and a student, the adult was the one escalating it.
Yes.
And I would step in and try and de-escalate. And what I always say to teachers is, it's not that I'm going to let this child get away with anything. I'm going to de-escalate it first, and then we're going to deal with the
And
consequences.
we'll address it. Right.
But you can't, an escalated adult, an escalated person cannot de-escalate somebody else that's escalated. And that's
Right.
something that is just, it gets lost because, oh, you're going to yell at me. Well, I'm going to yell at you and just get louder and louder and louder. And it doesn't work.
Right.
It doesn't.
And I agree. So Kathy's funny because this is why I started laughing earlier. She's like, kids are supposed to share until they come back without their shoes. I was like,
I like that. And I'll tell you what, I had a child
Kathy's on
arrive
fire
to
today.
school. My very last year I was in the school building. I had a child arrive to school with one shoe on, one shoe and sock, and one barefoot. Literally in January, came to school that way. And I said, child, how did you not realize that you didn't have your other sock and shoe? And he said, well, I knew I didn't, but my mom said the bus was coming, so I had to go. Can't make that up. That really happened. But
I can't. I
bless
can't.
them.
Look, you just like, okay, look here. I don't understand, but run behind the kiddo with the shoe and the sock and put
Better
them
yet,
on.
the parent, where was the parent in the situation? In the car watching it happen, right? Get out of my car. You got to go.
No. Come on now, put it in the backpack or something. There's some strange stuff going on. But
Oh,
like I guess growing up, what do they say? Oh, yeah, of course there's all kinds of derogatory things, but look, you could have it worse. You could be over in there where they're not getting fed every day.
right.
Or, you could be homeless. Stop putting those ideas in our heads. That's
Exactly.
not the point. But for this situation, you have to be the adult in the room,
Yeah.
please. Hey, all the adults, please raise your hands. Hey,
Right.
there you go. My thing is that if you are the adult, you've been there. So I remember, do I 100% remember what it was like to be 12? Absolutely not. However, there are sections of being 12. I would not return back into being under 18 at this point. Girl, I'll be on the train tracks talking about Amtrak. Go ahead, hit me, because I will not be able to do this mess, because everything that they are dealing with today, first of all, is kind of our fault.
I completely agree. And I'm at that age where I didn't have my own children. And I'm actually thankful right now that I'm not trying to parent kids through this. I'm thankful that I can help others, but that I don't have to deal with all of the things parents have on their plates with kids right now. I mean, it's just too much.
Yeah.
And
So you said it before, 3 and 4 jobs and them trying to keep food in the house, and then the prices of everything going up, and whatever's going on in the world is telling us that we have to continue to give more and more money to whatever that's going to be, so that we can,
exactly.
so that somebody else can have what we can't even have for our own selves. We
Mhm.
work really hard to protect and build up for other people, but when we turn around, we have nothing to give to our own, and that's not okay. And so
Right.
that's why drawing those correlations or drawing those comparisons can be extremely difficult for those children, because their brains are just absorbing everything we're saying. And so they're making it fact.
Absolutely.
And that fact causes harm in a long run. So my thing, I just want people to be mindful of that. Don't compare your kid. You can't compare your kids. When I see my kids, I'm like, oh, you look pretty today. Or, oh, I like seeing you today. Because the first thing I want them to hear from me is
Mhm.
that I appreciate their existence. One. Okay. Then the
Absolutely.
second thing is that after that, it's okay. So now let's talk about what you're here for, or whatever you're here for, stuff like that. So then we can move through that. But I want them to know I don't compare my girl to my boy,
Right.
because it's wrong.
Right.
It's just there's no way around it. I can tell you there is a difference between boys and girls. Girls will slip, slide, and hide, girl, and
Absolutely.
boys are blatant as I don't know what. They will dig in their heels and doing whatever they want and take the consequence on the other side. Is
They
that
don't
all?
seem to have fear of it. It's like, whatever.
Yeah.
I'll get out of it, whatever it is.
Whatever that's going to be. But so, yeah, so I just want us to be really mindful of that. I didn't do it to mine. I didn't compare them. Well, look, your cousin over here is doing X, Y, and Z. Nope. I said, well, tell me what you want to do next. And they'll say, well, I want to, okay, well, let's do it. And then I just I move over and do that. Oh, I missed this one. So she's funny, Dr. Trong. She says, yes, we are showing up. How we are showing up is so important, because kids see what's right and wrong and will mirror it based on how we as parents are showing up. That is very true.
Kids are not born with hate in them. They see it and it's modeled for them.
Yes.
So 100% agree with you.
Yeah. Because they don't wake up. They don't wake up. They didn't come out of the womb talking about, you know what, I'm gonna punch Joe in his eye because he is this color or that color, or because they didn't give me my bottle on time. I'm gonna do. They don't do that stuff. They just want to love people.
Have you ever seen the meme? It's gone around on social media over the years, and it's two little boys. They're both 6 and they're in first grade, and they go and they are so excited. They get their hair cut the same exact way and they dress the same way to go to school because they can't wait because their teacher's not going to be able to tell them apart. And
No.
one of them's black and one's white. And I love it because it's like so not even in it. Like the kids don't even realize, like, oh, it's the cutest thing in the world. It's like our teachers won't be able to tell us apart because we look just alike now.
We're
It's
exactly.
just so
I'm gonna go
heartwarming.
find this. I'm gonna go find this video. I've never seen this video. I've seen
It's
the
really
one where
cool.
the two run to one another and they're like so excited to see each other.
Yes.
I love you. I miss you.
I love that. Yes.
I think that's what, so we have more of that. So I am learning and I am acknowledging that there are more people out there that are kind and sweet and they love harmony and all those things. But what's happening is that the bad seeds get in there and they start to pollute things and cause more harm and things like that. And I feel like that's where we start to have those challenges and problems. And honestly, I believe that in certain comparisons actually bring people to the point of crime.
Oh, for sure.
Crime,
Mhm.
suicide, and a few other things, right? Because
Mhm.
we apply too much pressure unnecessarily to people, and they can't deal with it, or they can't tolerate that. And that stuff, again, that stuff is on us. I really hope, my hope with doing these short sessions, that we're able to trigger people into a place where they start to recognize how when they were young they didn't like the fact that their mom or dad was comparing them to their older sister or their younger sister or their neighbor or anyone like that.
Yeah.
But and that they didn't appreciate that, and it hurt them to the point where they're still working out that little trauma that they have in their bodies. And then they're looking at themselves as adults and looking at their children and saying, you know what, I'm not going to gift you that same horrible experience. I'm going to gift you a different one, because that present is a present that I personally see for my children. I noticed there is a difference in these two than I had when I was younger, based on the small changes that I made, because I didn't like how I felt in that moment in that age bracket. So I gifted them a different gift that will continue to give for them in their lifetime.
Mm-hmm. I don't even know how to respond to that, because you just said that so well, in terms of there's so much going on in kids' heads and brains. There, think of how much they change on the physical outside as they go through different ages. Kids, your shoe size changed 3 times this year. Just imagine what's happening on the inside, on all that change that's occurring constantly, and they're trying to figure out who and what they are and what to believe. And we're modeling it all for them, so they're taking that all in. And then it's a rabbit hole, and I'm not going to go down it, but the whole having video games and the desensitization that kids are getting from playing these games. I had a 5-year-old playing Call of Duty that's asking me, what's a prostitute? And I'm like, where are you hearing that word? He's like, well, it's on my game Call of Duty. And then he asked me if a strip club is where the prostitutes work. And it's like, what? And then I said, well, honey, who are you playing this with? My dad. How do you combat that? Like, that's where parenting comes in. Like, we need to be helping parents parent better too. And that's where, I'm going off on a tangent, but that's, my work with Christine Lynn Jones and our book of bridging the gap, educationally between home and school is so critical. We've got to help parents, because parents don't know anymore what to do. And I don't think it's to any fault of their own. They just don't know. So I'm not blaming anyone. I'm saying, let's get in there and help them and teach them, because I think a lot of parents would do better if they know better.
Right. But I don't believe that the government should be the one that trains them. I don't believe that the government should be the one. I don't believe that the government should be the one who comes in and teaches parents how to parent.
Oh, I agree.
Honestly, the way that they parent, look at the state of the world. I would not put them in any type of leadership role to teach nobody's parents how to treat a child.
Absolutely.
Because if education is any example of your parenting style, I don't agree. If employment is any indication of your parenting style, I do not agree. There are things I don't agree with, and you've actually showed your hand when you showed us what you want to do based off of what you're currently doing to the adults who feel like they're boxed into a corner. So no, I don't agree. So I do think that I think that parent to parent. Okay, back to this. Parent 1, home.
Yes.
Parent 2.
Every week we say it. Yep.
Parent 3, community. Your bonus parent is the community. You build the right community around you. And I'm thankful that you are my community. I'm so thankful for you. Because it's taken me a long time to get to a place where I have teachers and administrators and people who understand the fight that I've been fighting actually on my own for a long period of time. And now the community that's saying, look, every once in a while it'd be like the cat. Hey, don't do that, Tabitha. And I'm like, okay, I get it. Can you explain to me why a little bit? And you kind of help me out, and then I get it, right? But that's what you need. We need more gentle parenting for parents in that way to help them understand. Let me show you what the impact to what you're doing today will be for your tomorrow. And then if you do it differently, you realize what you're going to get in response of that. And parent to parent, I'm not telling you how to parent your child. What I'm telling you is how you parent your child is 100% up to you. But what I will tell you is that what you put out there on the planet in ether, will return back to you. And
Yeah.
it does not come back the same. It comes back raggedy and tattered and harmed, and now hurt is hurting more and now hurting more people.
Yeah.
So be mindful. My mom used to say, think further than the length of your arm. And
Oh, I
so
like that.
yeah, and so and now she's like, I'm tired of you. I don't know what you did with that term, but you definitely think so much further ahead, because I look at it. I look at a 10-year span. What is that going to look like? How will they take that as adults, or how will they take that when they get older? And I just make those changes. So I think that people should probably do something very similar. What you
Absolutely.
do today does impact your tomorrow. And if you're okay with the consequences, then I'm going to sit back with popcorn to see how that returns.
Right. Right. And you have to invest if you want to have a good response. I just got a visitor next to me. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
My pup just came wandering in and shoved her head into my lap.
I know. Well, at least not your crouch. You're straight. All right. So it's all funny. So again, so like I was saying, so as we close out today, um, again, correlation, the comparison of your life to others is never going to be a healthy way to go. And comparing one situation to another is also not healthy. When we draw correlations, we're helping people to see that there's a way out. When you're drawing a comparison, you're dismissing somebody's feelings, and that's not anything we want to do.
I love
So
it.
I do appreciate all of you coming to visit with us today and spending some time with us to share, talk a little bit about this subject. Thank you, ladies, for actually sending in your comments and your questions for that, because this is very
Yes.
important, and we do appreciate you. So, as I always say, until next time, words are power. Remember to use them wisely. Thank you for your time today. We appreciate the support and look forward to you visiting us again next week, same time, same place. Until then, words are power. Please remember to use them wisely. If you have an interest in discussing a contradiction or would like to be on our live show, please let us know and send us a direct message.